everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I'm glad that you could be with me here today. What I wanted to talk about, since everybody's pretty much going back to school, and it brought back some memories for me as to when I went to school. And I always had my ups and downs when it came to going to school. I would go every day, but what I had to deal with, when I went was sort of a struggle. I dealt with my share of bullying, my share of calling names. Of course, I called names back who wouldn't retaliate and, things like that. But when it came to my studies, some subjects I would do better in over others. Well, one particular subject I always had a little bit, well, I had somewhat of an issue with doing it, was my reading comprehension, or reading as some schools call it. And basically, what it comes down to is I would read a chapter and then, or two, or whatever it is, and then I would be quizzed on, those two particular chapters. And what would happen is, in my mind's eye, when I read the question on the paper, I'm thinking that I can go back in the book, if you were allowed to use the book. Sometimes we were, sometimes we weren't. That I'm expected to find it word for word for word what I'm looking for. No, that wasn't the case. Well, reading comprehension was not my biggest subject. In fact, I had issues with it. But there's a little interesting story behind that, though. If I had to study for a test and it had to do with reading, I don't know, I might get a C minus. I would still pass. That was all good and well. But if you took the book or whatever it was and read it to me and let me hear it, I could go back the next day, take that same test, and get an A on it. I never did understand the theory behind that, but then it hit me. Then I realized, okay, I know why. Why? Because when something was read to me, it's coming across to me as if I'm hearing music or a song. Now, I listen to a lot of music, and you know, it really doesn't take me all that long, depending, to learn the words or the lyrics of a song. Then I knew right then and there that's what it was. But keep in mind, I've outgrown that, a lot of it, as an adult. Now I have the ability to go back and find it in the book, textbook, and, write down the answer. Well, the story to this does have a happy ending. I did not finish school. In fact, I dropped out of high school at the end of my freshman year. I was going, to a private school, and apparently I just couldn't do it anymore. I said, "Mom, Dad, I'm done. I can't do this. I'm out. I'm dropping out." My dad was not upset with me. In fact, he said, "Come on, Steve, we'll go get some ice cream. Let's, make a day of it." Well, I let about 3 years go by, and then I had a thought come into my head. I should go and get my GED. That would not be a bad idea. So I went down and I took like a pre GED test. What it is it's like you take the test, but it gives you an idea of what the actual test is about. What it does is you take the pre GED and they'll go back and calculate it and give you a score, and then you're given a paperback to go back and restudy up on what you might score a little low in. So, two things came back. One was literature of the arts, had to do with reading, no argument there, and math. Mind you, I'm pretty good in math as long as it's basic math. So I thought, okay, not bad. Everything else I did, you know, pretty well. So I went back home and I had the GED book that you can get in the library. It's about yay thick. And I opened it up and I went to the literature of the arts. I went to the introduction page. I read the first page, turned it over, and read the second half. I said, no. I said, I'm not going to do it like this. I said, I'm not going to study for this test. I said, I'm going to go down and I'm just going to take the test outright. I had to go two separate mornings. So my dad always told me, Steve, when you go to do a math problem, he says, figure it out on paper and which answer looks closest, that's the one you go with or what you come up with. And if it's on the multiple choice, pick that one. Fair enough. That's what I did. So I took the test. I believe it was 5 parts, if I recall correctly. It's been over 30 years. And I think I did the first three one morning, then I went back and did the other two a couple of mornings later. So I guess about a month goes by, give or take, and I didn't know how I was going to do. So this one evening, I go and check the mail, and I check the mail, go through it. At the time it was FCCJ. Now it's changed names, but it'll always be FCCJ College to me. So I opened it and I opened it up and I read it. Well, end result, I passed my GED diploma test without having to study for it. Mind you, I had been out of school 3 years. So that probably had a helping hand. Going to the private school had a helping hand. So at the time, you had to have a 225 minimum to pass. I had a 230. So that made my day. That made me happy. I was so glad that I had passed it. So, despite all the troubles and things that I dealt with and I had to go through while I was in school, because studies here and there did become difficult for me. But that was basically washed away when I went and took the GED and I passed it the first time. But I just wanted to come on here and tell you guys that story because, now that school's starting back up again, I figured there was no time like the present, to go ahead and share that with you. Anyway, I hope all of you have a great rest of whatever time of day it is. And I'll see you back here next time.